Okay, Google, unlock the door on my smart mailbox.
Unlock the smart mailbox door. Your smart mailbox door has been opened.
Hello everyone, this is my presentation for my Smart Mailbox project for my Internet of Things course. So there's three main features of the Smart Mailbox. The first of which is to detect when the door on the mailbox is open. And so when the door is opened, you'll get a notification on your phone from anywhere in the world. Um, and this is a security and a delivery purpose. So when the mail is delivered, you'll know the mail was delivered, and if it was already delivered and it's opened up again, you know, it's security purposes to see if it was stolen or not. And it also tracks the times. Um, the next feature would be unlocking and locking the mailbox. So once you get that delivery you expecting, or get the daily mail or something, you can lock it if you want and protect it once you get home. The next feature is to raise and lower the flag on the mailbox. Now this purpose is if you forget to raise it, pretty much, and there's not really any other purpose for it. It was just a cool little feature I decided to add. Another feature would be to get the temperature and humidity right outside, and I know this isn't really much of a useful feature either because you can just Google this on your phone, but again, just a feature that I wanted to include. So some of the hardware that's used in my project, we have the obviously the mailbox itself, which I stripped down, drilled lots of holes in. We have the Google Home Mini, which I am connecting to. We also have the Arduino and the Raspberry Pi. The Arduino is used on the mailbox. The Raspberry Pi is just used for my API, the broker service, MQTT, and another Python script that I have to make the Google Home say things. So I have four sensors that are vital to the project hooked up to the Arduino mailbox, and that's the door actuator on the left, then the DHT sensor for humidity and temperature sensors, or value, my bad, and then the servo motor and the magnetic door sensor. Some of the software used in my project was ngrok, and this service is run on the Pi, which is to tunnel out a connection from my API. I'm also using MQTT to connect the mailbox to the Raspberry Pi. So the Raspberry Pi and the mailbox do have to be close to each other. I wanted to use MQTT, but I also wanted to make it globally accessible, so I decided to stick with the MQTT connection between the Raspberry Pi and the Arduino. So temperatures and humidity and door opening notifications are all stored in a database on the Pi, which is the InfluxDB database. And I also use Flask, which is my REST API, and I'm using that to control a mailbox. I'm also using a service called notify.run. It was fairly hard to figure out how to get notifications on the phone for free. There's a lot of services that do it, but you only have maybe like 50 notifications or 50 API requests, and then after that you gotta pay. But I did end up finding one for free, and it's kind of a workaround, but it works really well. So what it is basically it's a web notification. So you you register a channel on your Pi that you want to use. So it gives you like a channel endpoint name, and you basically go to that URL on your phone and you subscribe to that web page. So I'd be getting notifications whenever I send signals to that web page on my Pi, but Google Chrome would be giving me notifications on my phone. Another service I used is Pi Chromecast, which I use to connect to the Google Home Mini. And I use this in my Python script. Another feature I use in my Python script is the Google text-to-speech. So, and I use IFTT to pretty much recognize commands from my Google Assistant and forward that to my API. And some requests that I want to make with the Google Assistant, Google doesn't have the actual answer for, right? So you have to pretty much go to my API, get the answer, and then it triggers the Python script to send another message back to the Google Home Mini. So basically, if I said, hey Google, give me the last time my door was opened, it's gonna go, okay, sure, retrieving that, but then it's gonna go to my API, figure that out with the database, and then at that point, it's already at the IFTTT applet, so I need to actually create a script to send a command back to the Google device to tell it what to say. And I do that with the Python script I created using PyChromecast and GTTS. As I said, IFTTT, I used it to create applets, and they're basically mini if-then statements saying if something was said on the Google device, then I create a webhook and I go to my API using the ngrok URL. Next, I use two apps on my phone. At first, I was using MQTT Snooper, and what that is basically just controlling the mailbox with MQTT rather than my API through my Pi. And that was fairly easy. I could subscribe to notifications when the door is open. I don't have to have any global web API or notification, whatever. And then Wrestler is a similar app. It's another controller that basically I send REST requests to the Pi instead of using MQTT to the Pi or the mailbox. So yeah, Wrestler I just make API requests on. I'll show these later. So some of the API methods I have Smart Mailbox Control, Smart Mailbox Data Door, and Smart Mailbox Data DHT. So the control endpoint basically has post request, and you can pretty much control the mailbox in different ways with using a post request. You basically create a JSON body that says what you want to edit and what you want it to do. So like you would say you want to edit the lock and you want it to unlock, or you want to edit the flag and you want it to go up or down. And then there's another command for that post request, and it's manually updating the DHT values. So basically what that does is it sends a signal to the Pi updating the DHT values, so the humidity and temperature values in the database on command. It does it every 5 minutes. The Arduino should do this every 5 minutes, but this is basically a request to make it do it on the command when it's executed. And then I also have a surprise feature that I'll show you guys later in the video. For data door, basically what this does is you get request, you call it, and it basically just returns a sentence saying the last 5 times that are stored in the database. It actually has 5 different values, but for Google Home Mini, it gives a sentence to say. Same thing with DHT, it gives a sentence to say, except it's getting the last temperature and humidity stored in the database. So if I were to do a get request or a post request for the control, manually updating the DHT values, and then do the get request for data DHT, I would have the values that I just got from the Arduino like that. I wouldn't be relying on values that might be 5 minutes old, even though that's not bad, but still, it was good for testing. So here's some of my work cited, and without further ado, let's get into the demo.
Okay, Google, lower the flag on my smart mailbox.
Lowering the flag on your smart mailbox.
Okay, Google, raise the flag on my smart mailbox.
Raising your smart mailbox flag.
Okay, Google, lock the smart mailbox door.
Locking the door on your smart mailbox.
Okay, Google, unlock the door on my smart mailbox.
Unlocking the smart mailbox door. Your smart mailbox door has been opened.
Okay, Google, update the humidity and temperature on my smart mailbox.
Updating the mailbox's humidity and temperature readings.
Okay, Google, What is the current temperature and humidity on my smart mailbox?
The current temperature and humidity is 24.1 degrees Celsius and 39%.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
Okay, Google. What times has the smart mailbox been opened at?
Retrieving last 5 times opened. The mailbox was last opened at the 14th of April 2020 to 19 hours 57 minutes and 5 seconds 971009024Z. And the 14th of April 2020 to 19 hours 56 minutes and 56 seconds 9650004EZ. And the 14th of April 2020 to 19 hours 56.
So these are the apps that I decided to use to complete my tasks at hand for the smart mailbox. So I have two different apps here to control it. I have an app called MQTT Snooper, and you connect to a host. So here's the Pi IP address. I would connect to that, and then I have the different topics that I'm subscribed to. So whenever a mailbox sends out a DHT signal, which is the humidity and temperature values, and then also door notifications. And then I can also send things as well. So here through MQTT, I can send commands for the mailbox to lock its door, unlock, raise the flag up and down, and then also to manually update the temperature and humidity values by forcing the mailbox to send it to the Pi to update it in the database. Even though it does it every 5 minutes automatically, this is if you want a temperature reading like ASAP right now. The other app I use for this project is called Wrestler, and this is just a simple post request, get requests, REST API controller. So um, here I have my collection for my smart mailbox. I can make different post requests to control the mailbox. So again, I have my lock and unlock features, my manual update DHT feature. I can tell the mailbox to make its flag go up and down, and I can also tell the mailbox to dance. I also have two more API GET requests. The app on my phone that I'm using for this project, which you don't really need, is IFTTT. You can do this on the computer. You don't need it on your phone, obviously. So the other two apps I have for controlling it from your phone. So, but for this app, it's the same thing on the computer. You can set up different applets and you can create different reactions. So there's one more thing I needed to get this to work. I had trouble finding out how to get notifications on my phone for when the door was open on my smart mailbox from anywhere in the world. Obviously, MQTT is giving me notifications. I turned the notification on for this MQTT Snooper app. So I would get real-time notifications when the door is opened, but that's not good enough because that's not global, that's just on the same network. So to fix this, I tried finding a notification service, but I didn't find too much as a lot of them were not free and some of them were pretty expensive as well. But I did find one, and it's called notify.run. And what this basically does is you import this in your Python code, and it basically generates a QR code and a channel name, like an endpoint URL, and you basically scan that with your phone, and it brings you to a link, and you basically subscribe to that web page for web API notifications. So this is the link that my Python code ran, generated, my bad. And so this is basically the endpoint that I'm using for notifications. So now on this page, here's my channel, and this is a QR code I scanned right from my Pi output, and you would basically click subscribe right here where it says already subscribed, and now I get all notifications through Chrome for whenever my mailbox is open in real time. So here is an example of my phone receiving notifications when my door on my smart mailbox is opened. You might hear Google in the background.
Your smart mailbox door has been opened.
But this is what it looks like. So at the top, I got notifications from the notify.run page from the Google page that I'm subscribed to. This is going to give me a notification from anywhere in the world. This other one that I got was from the MQTT Snooper app. So as you can see, I'm subscribed to the door notifications and DHT notifications. DHT notifications will happen every 5 minutes, like I said before. Over here, I also have the Raspberry Pi, which is running the ngrok service, the API, the broker, and it also has a Python script to send commands to the Google, so it can say things that it otherwise wouldn't know what to say from IFTTT. Raspberry Pi is also running the database for storing times the doors opened at and any temperatures that are reported, whether it's manually or automatically every 5 minutes. So here's a closer look at the smart mailbox. On the top up here, we have the Arduino command stripped to the mailbox. It's connected to several different sensors. The first of them being the servo motor, which rotates 90 degrees up and 0 degrees down. We also have it hooked up to the magnetic door sensor and the door lock actuator and its relay. Lastly, we have the DHT sensor, which is for temperature and humidity values, and a button in case the mailman doesn't have access to your API. So lastly, there's a lot of things that obviously need some consideration going into the future. One, the door lock gets very, very hot if you keep it plugged in. That's why it's unplugged right now. It gets super hot, and it's actually very dangerous. So that's one thing to consider for anyone that wants to look further into this. Another thing is that the door lock, it's nice, but we should probably just get a different door lock, not just because it's hot, but I mean, this thing can just be ripped open. It could just be pried open with your hand. There's no security at all, really. But it does do its purpose, and I locked it. Now I can't get in there anymore. But another thing that needs future consideration, the door lock actuator is actually electromagnetic, so it actually sets off the magnetic sensor, giving false notifications for the door opening, which is definitely another problem. Another thing that needs to be improved, lastly, is it obviously needs to be weatherproofed. This is probably very scary to look at, especially for your mailman. Yeah, so that's pretty much it, everybody. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Bye-bye. Okay, Google, make the smart mailbox dance.
Look at these sick moves.